This episode is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform for building a cool-looking and professional website. Have you ever dreamt of leaving it all behind to go and live in a magical Italian city? Today, I'm visiting Siena, one of Tuscany's most beautiful and iconic destinations, to inspire that dream.
This is Siena magic right here.
Of course, this means I'll be stopping to try some amazing local cuisine.
Buonissimo, buono.
And then we'll tour two breathtaking apartments for sale built upon the medieval walls of the historic center. Not to be missed. Andiamo.
So I know I've been bringing you guys along to find those hidden gems, the small towns all throughout Tuscany and throughout Italy where you can find beautiful dream homes. But don't forget, in Italy, there's also those big famous cities where we can find beautiful homes. That's what we're doing today. Today we're exploring Siena.
Siena is a town of around 53,000 inhabitants, and it is universally praised for the beauty of its historical center, recognized as a World Heritage Site of UNESCO in 1995.
So Siena is obviously a touristic city in the sense that you do have lots of visitors to it. And so there's lots of main commercial streets. This is one of them, Via di Città, where you'll find different restaurants, jewelry shops. In every single town there's one of them. You normally call it the Corso, right? So in every town you have a Corso, and Siena is no different.
As I stroll its streets and admire its ancient stone facades, I can certainly see the appeal. This cityscape is unchanged from the one Renaissance bankers, artists, and noblemen traversed centuries ago. The residential architecture is monumental, and the monumental architecture is simply in a league of its own.
One of the main monuments of Siena, this is its Duomo, and it's an absolute treasure, a monument of Italian architecture. Really one of the most beautiful churches, I think, in Tuscany, and definitely ranks as one of the top monuments in all of Italy, to be honest. Beautiful details of the statues. You have a gorgeous bell tower and the actual dome of the church, which are absolute symbols of the Siena skyline. This is Siena magic right here.
But the Duomo, as gorgeous as it is really only Siena's second most important landmark. A few minutes walk down the cobblestone streets brings you to the city's heart.
So we've made it to Piazza del Campo in Siena, one of the most iconic piazzas, not only in Tuscany, but in all of Italy. This is where every year, multiple times per year, we have the Palio of Siena with the horses from each one of the neighborhoods in Siena compete. Very famous for that, and also very beautiful because of just the different facades of the medieval buildings that surround the whole piazza. You can see it's kind of a shell-shaped piazza, which is unique in and of itself, and it's full of people just kind of enjoying themselves in this beautiful atmosphere.
But one doesn't live on a nice atmosphere alone. I need sustenance. And luckily, Siena is also a foodie's heaven.
As is custom, we're in a new city, and every new city in Italy has its own typical pasticceria, that historical pasticceria, pastry shop, which has existed for hundreds of years. And in the case of Siena, we have Nannini, which apparently has amazing typical pastries from Siena itself. So we have to try that out.
Bar and Pasticceria Nannini is over 100 years old and prides itself on carrying on the legacy of making traditional sweets, liqueurs, and pastries of the Tuscan tradition. Warning, coming here on an empty stomach is highly dangerous. So I've opted for a selection of different pastries, four of the best pastries of the pasticceria. This is called panforte, and it's made with, I believe, figs or dates with almonds, and this is the spiced edition, so they've put pepper on it. Afterwards we have this pear cake here with tiramisu and chocolate. This one's going to be a surprise because I don't remember what it was. And lastly, a cube croissant with pastry cream. Let's dig in. The chocolate pear cake was very good, not overly sweet, though a bit heavy for my tastes. My favorite was the next pastry. This is a light mascarpone cream with, I believe it's an apricot jam on the inside. Really good. Wow, this was surprisingly good.
Next up was the intriguing panforte, typical of Siena.
So this one tastes like Christmas. I think they used a bit of ginger on top in addition to pepper. Really interesting.
And finally, the cube croissant, which seems to be in fashion among pastry shops nowadays.
It's interesting. It has many layers of croissant, but they've also included cream on the inside of the pistachio cream on the inside too. It's good. A bit heavier than I thought.
Do you have an idea you're dying to share with the world? Something you know people are going to love? Well, Squarespace, the sponsor of today's video, has everything you need to create a website as beautiful as Siena and launch a project in just a few minutes. You can kick things off by picking one of their beautifully designed templates, then make it your own by tweaking the fonts, colors, and overall style. Thanks to their drag and drop setup, dropping your photos into place is honestly as simple as it gets. No web design background? Doesn't matter. The whole platform is super intuitive and really easy to navigate. Take a look at the site I just put together. Pretty nice, right? They even have an AI tool that works kind of like ChatGPT. Just tell it what you want, like write an About Me section, and that's all there is to it. It generates the text for you. Whether you're a consultant, a photographer, an interior designer, whatever your field, I genuinely recommend giving Squarespace a try. So head to squarespace.com/JustDreamItaly for a free trial and use my code JustDreamItaly to get 10% off the first purchase of your website or domain. Obviously, a trip to Siena wouldn't be complete without a little bit of street food. Panino, in this case. We're in the main square, and I think the panini at least look good from the outside. Let's go try it out.
A good panino is much more than a sandwich. In Italy, there are over 200 types of traditional bread. Combine that with countless regional toppings, and you'll understand that a panino is a culinary subset of its own.
Panino with porchetta, obviously fresh bread. They warm it up on what's called the piastra, so you get these nice grill marks on it, and the porchetta meat. So it's really just a kind of flavored and spiced pig meat, which is roasted in the oven. So if you have ever tried porchetta before, you know that the best part is this kind of combination of the fat, which is really, really soft, with the crunchy skin around it where they've put that pepper flavor. And this isn't just the meat of the porchetta, they've included a bunch of the skin, so the texture of this sandwich is amazing. You don't have to even put a sauce on it because the fat of the porchetta is what basically melts in your mouth. Buonissimo, buono. So we've made it to the property tour segment of this episode. We're in front of Arco delle Due Porte. This is an old medieval entryway into Siena. In the meantime, Siena has become a bigger city, and so they expanded these medieval walls into Renaissance-style walls, of course, further out. And so the property that we're going to be touring is this way, right under the arch, and it has the unique characteristics of being integrated into these old medieval walls. So this is the palazzo where we have the properties that we're going to be viewing in today. It's not only one property, but two, on a mid-floor and a top floor. This is a palazzo which has been built over the ages. So a portion of it is from the medieval walls. Other portions of it are probably from the Renaissance times, around the 1600s or so. And so it's a very unique palazzo, and you can also see that from the details up on the facade itself. So now let's go inside. We're going to see the first property. So we've made it up the stairs. Entering into the apartment, you have this beautiful wooden door and a historical door. This is a property of the asking price is 530,000 euros. Total space is about 180 square meters. So it's accessible via this main hallway, every single one of the rooms, so that's kind of the axis of the property. You enter in immediately and you have one of these rooms, right? And so what sticks out about the room is, of course, the gorgeous frescoes. Each one of the spaces in the property has its own unique fresco, all of which are in gorgeous conditions, with this beautiful framing going around, illuminating it, and so really putting it to the forefront. Unique about the rooms on this side of the property are, of course, the large windows, very high windows, looking out, and you are on the main medieval entryway into Siena, right? It's called Arco delle Due Porte. So we'll go down here and we'll see the second room of this side of the property. And here we have a different style of ceiling. This is an arch ceiling, kind of a barrel vault, with therefore a different style of fresco going all around. So with like a border, with a main piece in the middle, kind of emphasizing birds hunting, fruits, very typical kind of neoclassical themes. Same borders going around, lots of illumination, and another window looking out. So with each window we get closer to the arch entryway of Siena. We'll come back out this way. Obviously the systems have been updated in this apartment. It's a historical apartment, but actually all of the systems have been modernized just a couple of years ago. So you have full heating, the electrical systems are great, and that brings us into the highlight of this property. And it's this room. The main, I would use this as the proper living room because you have this gorgeous ceiling. This was the ancient medieval guard tower, right? And so the architecture reflects the importance of the space, right? Not only for the individuals who would be using it, but because it was part of Siena, right? So this would have been built as the main, one of the main defense areas of Siena. And therefore, you look out the window, and we are right above the arch looking into the city. This is the arch right here. This is the main defensive door to Siena, letting people in and out, right? But the living room doesn't finish there because we do have this little space, and you might think, whoa, this might be a nice little closet space, right? Nothing special. But in the end, I think it's probably one of the most special rooms of the property because we're on the arch now, we're in the arch. And so you look out this way, and this is where the guards would have been shooting arrows, dumping boiling oil onto invaders. And on this side, you're already in the historical center of Siena with a road going straight up to the Duomo, Piazza Duomo, right? So a property like this isn't only special because it's beautiful on the inside, but because of its location and because of its historical value, right? And we're not done yet because this looks like a bookshelf, but it's a bookshelf that opens, kind of a James Bond-esque space where probably at some point there might have been spiral staircases going down as the guards, escaped because the gates have been broached. But you can use it now as a closet, right? And so maybe more recently you use it to store your gold in or something like that, jewels, your valuables. We'll go to this part of the property. So we'll explore now this other side. This is a storage space, very big with 2 levels, very useful. And it brings us now into the kitchen. Now you can, obviously there's a difference in styles between the front and the back here, but still everything is in great condition. We have a fireplace, a historical fireplace where the guards, would have been warming things up, perhaps even cooking in. And so this is probably the area that requires a bit more work if you move in, if you desire, right? Of course, because you have to install a new kitchen, but also, if you want to change the styles, if you don't like these tiles, if you don't like the floors, you change those, right? These windows look on the inner courtyard of the property, and it's also very cute because you're looking onto the kind of medieval brick of the surrounding the neighbors' buildings. Here we have an inner room, and so this kind of separates the bathroom space from the kitchen. This can also kind of be maybe a mini dining room. with access direct from the hallway. And going this way is where we have the bathrooms, right? So we do have a window here, a little sink, and in the end of this corridor, we have two bathrooms. This is the one with the shower, complete bathroom on this side, shower, sink, bidet, toilet. And this one is toilet, bidet, and sink without the shower. So it's always nice having two bathrooms in a big property like this, especially when it's multiple bedrooms. We'll head back out this way. So we've seen this whole property, but we're not done yet with the tours in this building, because actually the second property that we're going to be seeing is on the top floor, and it's equally as interesting. Here we are, the second tour in this palazzo. We'll start with the asking price, $750,000. It's a bit bigger than the other property with 260 square meters, and obviously being a bit higher up, you have different characteristics which we're going to explore right now. As we start the tour, you can see that the property perhaps needs a little bit more of work than the other one, but I want you to look past the old tiles and things like that and start imagining what can become of a noble property like this one. So let's start off with the similar format to the property below. We have very high ceilings. These don't have the frescoes on them, but they are just as high, just as noble with the fixtures going around it. We have the same windows 2 floors up, looking down on the street of Siena below. So this is bedroom number 1. You'll also see that in this property there's lots of antique furniture. There's these old wooden doors, and it's really characterized by this kind of turn of the century style. So this would be the second bedroom, obviously being used as a studio now. Regarding the antique furniture, they can be included in the sale regarding the depending on the price offered, let's say. So it's a possibility to buy these with the asking price. And so you do have pieces that I think are very unique and that do have value in and of themselves, like this coat rack, umbrella rack, just beautiful wood carvings on this piece that you really fall in love with. It seems like it belongs in this space. So we'll go now into the third bedroom. As you can see, as big a space as the other ones. And so I would also like to mention that the property does have heating. It does have air conditioning as well. And the windows are double pane windows, right? So you have another window. This one's looking right out onto the porta, but from higher up. We'll head back this way. And so obviously we have this main hallway layout which gives us access to all the different spaces in the property, the same layout that we had below. That brings us into this wing of the property. So this is the wing that brings us above the arch. So we're now inside of the arch, above it, right? And I think this is one of the most unique rooms of this property, without a doubt. Because of the space itself, the high windows, but particularly because of the ceilings. So we have the typical wooden beams, brick ceilings that you'll see in this area of Italy. And they're particularly nice because you have the bases of the beams that are actually carved, right? So these are very old wooden beams. You also have this really artistic stone fireplace. And one of the unique pieces of furniture in here is this. And you might think this is a cupboard, this is a big cupboard. But no, this is actually the sacristy. This belonged in the sacristy of a church. And at some point it was brought into this property. And it's a massive one-piece furniture. It's not something you can take apart. And so what they would have done at a certain point is lifted up, these 3-4 floors up through this window. So it's a bit of history that they were able to bring in there. And that brings us to, once again, the little room above the arch. So we're 2 floors up now above the arch, but the same format as below. You have the window looking out onto the main street going up to Piazza Duomo, and this time another one with a veranda. So here we have the beautiful views of the valleys surrounding Siena. We're on, Siena's on a hill, right? It's built up on a hill, and so the views that you get when you're actually in the city are gorgeous. Beautiful churches, beautiful streets with these old ancient homes looking up here. So this is what's unique about this property with regards to the one below. Okay, we'll go back in. This is a property that never ends, right? So 260 square meters, which means that there's a lot of space to be used and a lot of space to be reimagined and renovated, right? So that brings us into this new wing, let's say, of the property. This is the equivalent of that internal room that we had downstairs. But this one's really nice because you also have the wooden beams, you have the revealed brick, and window letting in light. Coming through this way brings us to this other part of the wing, right? And so this is where we have the two bathrooms. These are particularly big bathrooms. And so this is where we have, you know, the shower, the toilet, bathroom, and two windows. So you get a nice cross breeze, which kind of aerates the space very nicely. So a very big bathroom here. And this is where we have a laundry area. We'll come back this way because we still have to see the kitchen. So this is where we have the kitchen. Very nice. It can be used as is. It is a habitable kitchen, but obviously if you want to bring up the level, this is something that you would include in your renovation. This is another veranda, a balcony overlooking the internal courtyard, which we saw below. Very beautiful brick buildings to see down there. Now this, on the other hand, is a room which also enters in from the hallway out here, right? So this is kind of a room of passage, right? And so they kind of use it as a space to store things because it brings you back into another bathroom over here. And then we have the outdoor space, which I believe is the cherry on top of this property. So this is, I think, one of the most unique characteristics of the property is that we're on the third floor. We're in this historical building, but we have a private garden, your own private courtyard in the center of Siena where you don't hear a thing. You're basically in peace and tranquility as if you're out on the countryside. And so it's, I think, a very fitting space for this property, and it just gives it that much more character, right? Because it is very rare in a city to find a property that does have its own dedicated outdoor space. So really beautiful. You also have a storage space here. This is where some other practical things can be stored. You can actually install a new kitchen there if you wanted to have an outdoor kitchen, which you can then use to kind of eat outside here. So this is the property, guys. I really hope you liked this episode of Siena. I hope you enjoyed the two property tours. Obviously, comment below which one did you like best. Where would you like me to visit next? Like, subscribe, check out my Patreon if you haven't yet. I'm restructuring, renovating a home in Arezzo, which I purchased. So if you're interested in that process, check it out and support me on Patreon. I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.